Hey, welcome to CryptoCoach365. This is day 62. I just got to the convention. It's been a long day driving. I'm still feeling sick, so I'm going to keep this a little short. Excuse me. On the way here, I listened to a debate between Erik Voorhees and Peter Schiff. Sorry, Erik Voorhees, Peter Schiff. Erik is I don't know if he was a creator, but he was a guy who made Satoshi Dice, which was the first Bitcoin on the blockchain gambling platform, like a fully decentralized, provably fair gambling game. Currently, he's the CEO of Shapeshift. Excuse me. And Peter Schiff owns a radio. I think it's a radio. At least it's a podcast. He's more of a gold bug type. So Erik Voorhees is very heavily involved in Bitcoin and supports it, whereas Peter Schiff is kind of a Bitcoin detractor and supports gold. But one of the questions that was in that debate, and if you want to watch it, just it's on YouTube. You can search for Erik Voorhees, Peter Schiff debate, and one of the things that Peter Schiff asked about was what would keep Bitcoin unique as opposed to having it be replaced by something else. His concern was that Bitcoin's 21 million limit, the total number of coins that can ever be produced in Bitcoin is 21 million. He claims that that's not entirely true because you can always make forks and altcoins, so you can always increase the amount of Bitcoin. That was kind of answered in the sense that is similar to how, well, he supports gold, but there's also silver and nickel and copper and other metals too. But gold is gold, and the other metals exist and don't detract from gold itself. So the way that was answered was actually the same way, that there could be other altcoins, but Bitcoin is Bitcoin. If you need to accept Bitcoin or use Bitcoin, you can't use other coins to do it. You have to stay exclusively with Bitcoin and what it does, and stay exclusively in its network. The one that wasn't actually answered was that Peter Schiff brought up a counterpoint that something better than Bitcoin can be created, and if that happens, then Bitcoin value will just crash and it'll be totally useless. I mean, Peter basically spent most of the debate talking about Bitcoin as if it's a bubble that's gonna pop. But that aside, excuse me, yeah, I'm still dealing with this illness, but there's one important thing to understand to kind of grasp why Bitcoin is Bitcoin. Well, two things. And it's a concept of a platform versus a product and open source platform. So, sorry, to give an example, a product would be something that a company makes. For example, Coca-Cola makes Coca-Cola the drink. That's a product. You can make other Coca-Cola drinks, but Coca-Cola is the product itself. In effect, how do I put this? Product would be something that is controlled by a company that the company sells. A better example would be with regards to the telephone system. For the longest time, excuse me, we had landlines. That's where you had to pick up a phone. It's on a cord. You have to dial a number, and you use the telephone company. And all telephone calls were done through wires, and all of them had to go through specific phone companies. So in that sense, it was a product, or I guess a service, that where the actual phone system was entirely owned by telephone companies. And if you wanted to innovate on such a system, you could not actually do that directly on a system itself, because the system itself is owned by the phone companies. It was a monopoly. You could only innovate on the edges. So since the phones were invented for like almost a century, the only innovation that happened was at the very edges. So we had cordless phones, we had answering machines. That was about it. A platform came after, which ended up destroying the entire phone monopoly. And that platform is the internet itself. So a platform is not something that is owned, it is something that is kind of open to be developed on top of. Uh, I mean, a platform could actually be owned, now that I think about it. Like, I guess Facebook, in a way, is kind of a platform where you can create Facebook apps on top of Facebook itself. Although, because Facebook is still a closed source owned permission platform, it's still very limited. But with regards to moving from landline phones to the internet, that is basically a perfect comparison between moving from a product or service to moving to a platform. The other important thing is that it is open source, in that anybody can develop anything they want on top of internet, even down to the very nitty-gritty hardware part of it, the wiring, the networking, wireless internet, all that kind of stuff. And if Bitcoin was, as Peter Schiff was comparing it to MySpace, and now he's like, it could be MySpace, and it could be there could be another thing that's called Facebook that'll replace it. So that's what he was saying. Bitcoin is. Thing is, MySpace and Facebook are, again, their products. Platform that Bitcoin is a decentralized, open. Anybody can develop on it, kind of like the internet. So, sorry, I'm having trouble figuring out how to explain this right. But the point is that, with regards to his concern, that what if Bitcoin is like MySpace to be replaced with Facebook. Bitcoin is a platform like the internet that anybody can develop on, and it's an open source platform that anybody's allowed to develop on. So, in that sense, the argument is similar to the phone company saying that, well, the internet is not going to be the thing that we're going to end up using, because what if somebody comes up with a better internet or develops a better working internet or whatever. And of course, we know the answer to that is internet's owned by anybody. If anybody comes up with a better internet, they'll just use it on the internet. That's actually the exact same way that what'll happen with Bitcoin too. If anybody comes up with a better Bitcoin, because Bitcoin is a platform, anybody can develop on top of Bitcoin directly. So not only will whatever better option that'll come out will be implemented on Bitcoin, chances are that better option will be actually developed on Bitcoin itself to begin with. Because like right now we have internet, we don't have people coming up trying to come up with a better version of the internet. They're just improving the internet itself. And the reason for that is, well, the third point that makes Bitcoin Bitcoin, it's network effects. Network effect is an economic term where the value of a system grows as more people use it. So, for example, when email came out, like you'd have maybe a dozen people who had email. Value of email was not really useful, like nobody had email. Now everybody has email, so the value of email is very useful because you can send email to everybody. Why do you send email? Because everybody has email. If you come up with a different new alternative version of email, it'll have almost no value and will not be able to compete with email because nobody has this alternative. It's actually in the same way that why do people sell merchandise on eBay? Because eBay has the most amount of buyers looking for merchandise, for used ones anyway. And why do people go to eBay to buy? Because eBay has the most number of sellers. So the number of people put together kind of make the value of the network bigger. And Bitcoin itself has the biggest network of all cryptocurrencies. So the reason people will continue using Bitcoin is because everybody uses Bitcoin. The reason people will not use other coins is because nobody uses other coins. So if you want to develop a quote-unquote better Bitcoin, you could set it up on a separate network, but then you would have to convince everybody who already uses Bitcoin to switch to that network, and it's much easier just to have them use Bitcoin by itself. Excuse me. So with regards to Bitcoin, yeah, why it's not going to be replaced by anything else? Because it doesn't need to be replaced by something else. It can just, whatever something else gets come out, whatever somebody that comes out with can just be implemented on Bitcoin itself. There's no barriers to developing on Bitcoin itself, which makes it attractive to develop on Bitcoin itself in the first place. And by developing on the Bitcoin itself, you also end up capturing the entire network that already exists within Bitcoin. So all the users that use it will simply continue to use whatever you invented, as opposed to trying to convince everybody to switch to something new. Like, imagine like we have Visa, MasterCard, American Express, and Discover. Imagine somebody came out with a whole new network. I mean, yeah, it would be Bitcoin, I guess, but it'd be like somebody coming up with another credit card type and trying to convince all the merchants to switch to that when everybody has Visa network credit cards, or Visa and MasterCard, and all the merchants already accept them. So it's really, really hard to kind of get people to adopt a new network. Yes, that's actually a problem for Bitcoin. That's one of the reasons that Bitcoin has been very slow to adopt, because merchants don't accept it. Why do merchants not accept it? Because most people don't have it. Why do most people not have it? Because they can't spend it anywhere, because merchants don't accept it. So Bitcoin does have a very uphill battle, but the benefit of Bitcoin is that it's not just a payment network, it's also a better money. So we do already are kind of converting or on-ramping people, so to speak, because there are some debit cards that are coming out that actually let you use Bitcoin and pay with Bitcoin. And then from there, it's just another minor step for a merchant to go from accepting credit cards that send them Bitcoin to simply accepting Bitcoin directly. But it's yeah, that's a fight that's going to be won, mainly because Bitcoin is a better money than the money in many countries out there, and also because it's a more efficient network and an improvement on top of the old system, as radical as the internet was on top of the phone lines. Because, I mean, the comparison is pretty much exact. Our old banking system is effectively the old landline telephone monopolies, and Bitcoin is internet. So in that sense, so I mean, for those reasons, that's why myself and Erik Voorhees and many others are pretty confident that Bitcoin is here to stay. It's not going to be replaced by anything better, because whatever better comes out will be implemented on it. And it's a platform like the internet that is working to replace the services and products like the old landlines. In this case, it's government created product of fiat money, and bank really created products of their restricted money transfer mechanism. But anyway, hopefully that kind of helps understand what's going on with Bitcoin. Why are people investing in it who are investing in it because they know what they're doing, as opposed to just seeing the price go up. And why people like me who see the price go down are not too concerned about it, because we know that this is something that's not going away. Genie is out of the bottle, or cat's out of the bag, or however you say it. This thing is not going anywhere, and it's just a matter of time. Anyway, I'm gonna turn in for the night. Tomorrow's a long day. Hopefully I'll feel better, but we'll see. Thanks for listening. I thought it was going to be short, but turned out to be pretty long, but I at least hope it was informative. Good night.